Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Join me in a different spot to normal. Look at the view there, amazing. Over to Trevan, down the valley, absolutely lush spot here, just by the campsite that's down there. It's called Crag, the Crag Crag. Just set up a top rope here, pretty standard thing. People will moan at me, that's like 90 degrees. It's not, it's just under 90 degrees, but people like to moan anyway. A nut in there. There's a route down there, an E4, forget the name, I'll look it up in a minute. I had a play on it the other day, well yesterday actually at work. There was a top rope on it, so I thought I'd have a burn, because I've never tried it before. It's a crag I work at a lot, but I'd never pulled on before, and it looks quite enticing, it looks really safe. So I had a play on it, and I did it twice and got it clean both times. So I thought I'd come back today and lead it. But because I've already top roped it, I thought I may as well top rope it, give it a quick brush, have a play on it, look at the gear, and see what that's like, because I didn't really look properly yesterday. And then hopefully lead it. Flipping hot, there's a nice breeze, so it should be fine conditions wise. Quite slippery little beast. For the feet, the hands are okay, but the feet are pretty skinny. And the rock is quite compact here, plus it's been abseiled and climbed on, like scrabbled around on by a million outdoor centre type groups over the years, including me bringing groups here as well. Yeah, you'll join me in a minute, probably on the route, having a look at the holds and the gear and stuff, and explaining why the title was what it was for this video. Sorry for any wind noise, pretty windy up here today, which is good for the conditions, not so good for the microphone. I've just had a quick go on top rope, just to sort of check out the gear and moves again. I'll give stuff a brush. Because I'd already been on it yesterday, there was like no point not doing this. You know, it wouldn't have been an on-site or a flash or anything like that, because I've already been on it. So it feels like I may as well have a look at the gear. The gear is really pretty good actually. It's things like this. You can see as I spin the camera around, that slot there, get the purple cam in pretty well, so as you can see, that's pretty sinker. And every bit of gear really, I just push that a little bit further back, there we go. Every bit of gear is of that sort of quality. There's no like bad gear I wouldn't want to fall on, there's plenty of it. Not a long route, as you can see. It's short, but the crux is just down kind of that bit there, about there, as you sort of step across from side to side. So I probably, as I'm going down, just brush the holds, have one more go on doing that like transfers, where you change from the right hand side of the crack to the left hand side, and the feet are rubbish on that point. As soon as you get established above that, you're onto pretty good feet actually, and really good like finger locks and stuff like that, which is not my strong point, but they're pretty solid. So I'll do that, and then I better give it a go after that. Watch us. Yeah. Come on. All good. Okay, cheers. Oh, there's a massive caterpillar up here. It's on my rope. Nice. I was quite happy with that route in the end. I turned up at the crag expecting to tick that, right? And then I pulled on that first top rope go and suddenly thought, oh, hang about, maybe it won't go down today. I've been down the beacon this morning on the kilter board. I've been doing 4x4 laps on the kilter board and some other stuff. So I feel a little bit wiped, but it's so different to training, isn't it? I'll come back onto that one in a minute. The route, it's not like a turbo classic. It's fun though. It's a nice little crack line. Reminds me a little bit of like Katana or Penny. It's the same route called different names. I think the proper name's Penny over on Holyhead Mountain, which is a crack, which is a little bit deceptive because you think, oh, crack climbing, that'll be all right. There's a cuckoo just flying past. I don't think it'll be on camera. I don't see many of those. Hear them a lot though. But you have hands in the crack, but then your feet are on rubbish stuff, and that's the case here actually. I wore the Solutions because of the pointy toe, because a couple of those little pockety dish things, they're really small, so I wanted to be as precise as possible putting my toes in. The hands were all really good, the crux move across. That's what, when I did the first top rope, I suddenly thought, oh, that feels harder. I got the sequence refined and stuff, but it felt a bit trickier because I wasn't really recruited even though I'd climbed this morning. And then actually on the lead it felt quite steady once I'd worked it out again, because the gear threw me a bit. Whilst I had a look at the gear, coming down after the top rope, I didn't know every bit. I knew enough key bits for sure, and I had a heads up of what sort of roughly it was, but I got some of the nuts were not in the right place, I don't think, compared to what I practiced. But you know, I've placed a lot of gear in my time, so I'm happy with what I placed, and I knew it would be good because I could see it. The cams are in the right place, but they threw me a bit because they blocked the handholds. I think with like proper head pointing and proper red pointing, you get to know the absolute minutiae of a climb, how every hold feels, the perfect clipping positions, all that kind of stuff. That's not what I did here. Still head point, of course, I practiced it, so it's still, you know, that's the style of ascent, isn't it? But it wasn't quite so straightforward in that sense. But having been on it once, the crux move, once I'd figured out, remembering what to do with the hands, felt pretty steady that time. Crimp on a good thing and swing your feet across, and it felt much steadier. It is warm, so I could see the rubber sort of just balling up on the end of these because it's so hot. I mentioned the gear. It's really good gear. I've got like a silver walnut, a gold offset, a blue offset in the nuts, and then I put 3 cams in. A green totem, as in the totem basic old ones, a green Camelot, and I think the other one, yeah, it was a silver. I climbed it a bit differently. The crux I did right. The top bit, there's a really cool mono that you lock in, but actually I didn't use it in the end, which I was a bit disappointed about because it's a really good bit of sequence. Fun route, like I say, short walk in, easy to set a top rope up on, well worth a go for sure. The reason for the video was just that kind of, you know, it was just getting a bit thoughtful about things like, what's the point in training on the kilter board 45 degrees, or on my home board 55 degrees, on the fingerboard doing repeaters on max hangs, when you're going to come along to a just off vert climb. It's not quite slabby, but it's not quite vert either. And it's so different, isn't it? It's not a specific amount of training at all. Trad climbing, I haven't done like super hard trad. The hardest thing I've ever done was E5. I'm pretty sure I've only done one. I've done a few E4s, a mix of styles and things, but I wouldn't like rock up to any E4 and guarantee to tick it, because you think this is so different to like Resurrection, for example, over on the Cromlech. I've followed it, haven't led that. Like 40 meters of climbing, more intimidating, more sustained, more gear to either remember if you're head pointing it, or you know, if you're on sighting it, you know, just more hanging around and stuff. So different, the grades, isn't it? But it's so different from the training. That said, strength is always going to help, isn't it? Power is always going to help. Power endurance is always going to help. But if you want to get like really solid at like these mid-E grades, whilst the training helps, I think actually just climbing a lot is actually probably just as beneficial. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on that. I like having loads of grades in hand on trad. Sport is my main thing, as viewers of this channel will know. So an E4, which is probably, I'm guessing here because I didn't think about it too much, but maybe 6C sport climbing, that route, I suppose. I'd be really annoyed if I didn't on site a 6C. I'd be like really annoyed. But it's so different when you're placing gear and faffing around, and just that psychology of it all as well. It's just such a different experience, isn't it? So I like I say, I'd just be really interested to hear your thoughts on, you know, is training worthwhile for these grades? Does it help you? Just all that kind of chat, really. It interests me. I love the psychology of it. I hope it's been interesting though, a bit of climbing footage, a lot of waffle. I know I waffle on a lot, sorry. But massive thanks for watching as always, and you know, all the support for the channel is always massively appreciated. You can click the like button, smash the subscribe button, follow us on Insta, follow us on Facebook, use the buy me a coffee link, all those things I say every time, isn't it really? But it's so nice here. It's like 8 o'clock and it's still like roasting warm. I love North Wales, it's like this. I'm not sure there's anywhere better. As always though, massive thanks for watching. More videos coming up very soon.